So Deon, why don't you tell me, like when you were 6 and you
Yeah,
were with your dad and you went shopping for toys, what went down?
my daddy took me to Toys R Us, and where him and my mom would take me. Many, many times I had many toys. They took me to the toy store a lot, and I went with my dad. And I was 6 years old, and I wanted a doll. So, I wanted a Barbie. It was going to be my first Barbie. And I picked out the Barbie I wanted, and he looked at it, and he was like, well, what about this one? And he kind of tried to steer me away from the white Barbie doll, with the blonde hair, Barbie, as we know her. And he said that he wanted to get the black Barbie doll for me. And I didn't want that doll. I didn't want it. I rejected it, and he just said, like, well, she's really pretty. And I started crying, and I carried on and carried on, and which wasn't, I threw like an enormous tantrum in the store, which I normally didn't do because he took me everywhere. And he wouldn't have taken me everywhere if I had been such a problem like that. But today it was really a huge tantrum. And that's when he took me home. I cried all the way home. And then when we got home, he sat me down at the kitchen table. It was glass with these like soft, rust colored, seats around it that they had, bought from the fancy store. And he said to me, that's when he told me about slavery. And that was the first time I had ever heard it. And he said, a long time ago in this country, white people used to own black people, and we couldn't do anything. And they did very many, many terrible things to us. And we couldn't own land. We couldn't have money. We couldn't read. He knew how much that I loved to read. I learned how to read, from the book clubs my mom used to subscribe to. Cinderella was my favorite story, and One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish. And, and I said they wouldn't let me read Cinderella. They wouldn't let me read One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish. And he said, no, not even Cinderella. Not even One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish. And he said, not even the Bible. And I also learned how to read from the Bible. My mother taught me how to read from Genesis. And he said, no, we couldn't even read that. And we couldn't get married. We couldn't go anywhere. And we had to work forever for no money, or people would beat us. And he said that they wanted me to feel ugly. And like the white Barbie doll was prettier. But I didn't look like the white Barbie doll. My mother didn't look like the white Barbie doll. His mother didn't look like the white Barbie doll. And he said, you remember my picture of Miss Katie? Miss Katie was in Jamaica, my grandmother. And I'd never met her, but I had seen a picture of her. And in the picture, she had dark skin. And her hair was parted, and she had, two buns of hair like mine. And Miss Katie looks like? He said, yeah. He said, you all are beautiful, and they want you to think that they're ugly, and that they can beat you, and that you'll let them beat you, and that you won't read, and all of those things. And and then he said the Civil War came, and we were free, but he also explained that even though we were free, there was still, lots and lots of laws against us to try to keep us slaves. And that's why, as my daddy, he can't be a part of any of that. He can't buy me the white Barbie doll. That's why I couldn't have it. And from that day on, my whole world changed. The whole way I saw the world was different. So that's how I learned about that.
So you got the black Barbie doll.
No,
You didn't.
I didn't want that. I didn't want that fucking doll. I left the store that day with no doll.